Hello, mic tests. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? Sit in the chat box. Can you guys hear me? How's the audio? Okay, can you guys hear me? Hello, mic tests. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? Sit in the chat box. Can you guys hear me? How's the audio? Okay, can you guys hear me? Hello, mic tests. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? Okay, so that's good. So let's begin this special session. Okay, good afternoon, dear doctors. Good afternoon, dear colleagues and friends who are tuning in. So welcome to our special session just a day before a day and a half before the big exam, which is the March 2022 physician's licensure examinations. Okay, so we will have a board exam crack session, and this will cover clinical biochemistry. So we'll see how things go. This session, although it's live, it will be recorded, so you can just access this anytime within the day or anytime you feel or deem necessary. So first things first, please make sure that you guys look at the chat box, go up. There is a registration form. Okay, there's a registration form there, which I'll be flashing every now and then. For the PLE takers, I think you deserve a break and you deserve a reward. So for the PLE takers, the March PLE takers, you are eligible for an overnight stay for 2 with breakfast at Costa Bella Tropical Beach Hotel in Mactan, Cebu. So I'd like to thank our sponsors for this. So this is eligible for the March 2022 PLE takers who are based in the Visayas or Mindanao. And for those who are based in, our colleagues based in Luzon, there will also be a raffle overnight stay for 2. Now, we will be making off the cutoff for the registration right after this lecture. And I will be posting in the same channel the names of the lucky winners. Okay. So I think you deserve a break. And for the non-PLE takers, we will be giving away 15 partial and full scholarships. If there are any PGIs or clerks or medical students who are here, and each package is worth 15,500. So we'll be giving away 15 of them. And we will also announce the winners about an hour after we end this session. Okay, so I hope everyone is good and everyone is with me. Okay. So welcome to our MedGuru CDB channel. And we offer our prayers to everyone. every single soldier who will be going into battle this coming Sunday morning for day one. Buena mano, it's going to be biochemistry. If you like how things go, then we can have another session for the other subjects if you want, okay, in the succeeding days. So I'd like to introduce myself for those who are tuning in live for the first time. I'm Dr. Vatanagul. Everyone calls me Dr. Toom, and I'm your med guru, and I'm your guru guide towards your board exam. Now, before we start everything, I want everyone to remember that this is basically our mortal enemy, and that is cramming. Now, can I see a show of hands in the chat box? Who is guilty of cramming? I just want to see who the audience is for this afternoon session. Taas kamay, raise your hand. I want to see who is guilty of cramming. Am I the only one here who's guilty of cramming? Okay. Now, I also want you to look at the mirror, and I want to remind everyone that when you look in the mirror, that's your competition. That is your greatest ally. At the same time, it will be the greatest challenge, and that is yourself. Now, I would like to begin this session by mentioning that this board exam will not simply be a test of one's intelligence. It will be a test of one's character. It will be a test of one's grit, and it will test who you are. So this exam is going to be a life-changing exam. So let's begin our cracking the board session for biochemistry. Everything is lifted verbatim from these three main references. And I would like to remind everyone that these three main references, particularly the one in the middle by Michael King, okay? This is where they have been lifting recent questions, okay? So for those who are manifesting that they're going to get a scholarship, just stay tuned. We're going to give away 15 scholarships, okay? So let's begin with this photo, this figure of thiamine and thiamine pyrophosphate, okay? So this shows you the structure of thiamine as well as thiamine pyrophosphate. Now, in what population, again, would you expect thiamine deficiency? In what group of people? Okay, you can type your answers in your chat box. In what population would you expect thiamine deficiency? Aside from polished rice eaters, those who eat raw fish because of the enzyme thiaminase, what particular group of people are predisposed to thiamine deficiency? Okay, so these are the individuals who are alcoholics. Okay, these are the alcoholics. Now, thiamine pyrophosphate, I want you to memorize this. Okay, thiamine pyrophosphate is necessary as a cofactor for a number of dehydrogenase enzymes. And what are these dehydrogenase enzymes? So I want you to know the following. So number one, we have pyruvate dehydrogenase. We have alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. We have transketolase. And of course, we have the branch chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase. So what are the 4 enzymes that requires thiamine pyrophosphate as a cofactor? So number 1, we have pyruvate dehydrogenase. Number 2, we have alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. And of course, we have trans ketolase, which is the only thiamine containing dehydrogenase, thiamine containing enzyme. And we have the branched chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase. Now, question. If an individual is deficient in the branched chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase, what odor would you expect in their urine? If an individual has a deficiency in the branched chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase, what would you expect the odor to be, the odor of the urine? So this is, of course, a deficiency of the branched chain amino acids, which is leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And what do we call the disorder which arises? So what do we call the disorder which arises from a deficiency of the branched chain amino acids? This is maple syrup urine disease, or MSUD. So the urine smells like maple syrup, or it smells like caramel. It's a sweet odor. It's a caramel-like odor, okay? Caramel-like odor. It is a sweet odor. So they usually present with seizures, mental retardation, failure to thrive, okay? So please remember these 4 dehydrogenases that requires thiamine pyrophosphate. Now, I'd like to share with you, this mnemonics. I'd like to share with you this mnemonics of the tender loving care for Nancy. So that's TLCFN. These enzymes, the tender loving care for Nancy, okay, these are the enzymes that require the following cofactors: T for thiamine, L for lipoic acid, C for coenzyme A, F for FAD, and N for NAD. So please take note of this. So we have pyruvate dehydrogenase, alpha keto glutarate dehydrogenase, and the branched chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase. So memorize these 3. So what is the mnemonics again? Tender loving care for Nancy. These are the tender loving care for Nancy enzymes. Now, question. What condition is an extreme consequence of chronic thiamine deficiency resulting in the loss of short-term memory and mild to severe psychosis? Extreme consequence of chronic thiamine deficiency resulting in the loss of short-term memory and mild to moderate psychosis. Okay, what is your answer here? Extreme consequence of chronic thiamine deficiency resulting in the loss of short-term memory and mild to severe psychosis. Our team will be looking at the chat box, the transcription of the chat box, and we're going to give away some prizes before midnight for those most active, okay, the most active students and most active viewers. Okay, very good. This is, of course, Wernicke-Korsakoff psychosis. Okay, so this is Wernicke-Korsakoff psychosis. So I want everyone to remember this. The extreme consequence of chronic thiamine deficiency, which leads to short-term memory loss and mild to severe psychosis. Now, I want everyone to bring this to your respective exams. The triad of Wernicke's encephalopathy. We have ataxia, confusion, and ophthalmoplegia. Ataxia, confusion, and ophthalmoplegia. So please take note of this triad. Now let's play around. And let's say someone presents with ophthalmoplegia. Someone presents with areflexia, ophthalmoplegia, areflexia. What syndrome is this? I'm not completing the triad. I want you to think. I want you to analyze. What is ophthalmoplegia plus areflexia? What is this condition? Okay, what is this condition? I see Bickerstaff encephalitis. Okay, any other answers? Any other answers? Okay, so there's ataxia. Let's complete the triad. Okay, so what syndrome is this now? Ophthalmoplegia, areflexia, and ataxia. Very good. This is Miller-Fisher syndrome. This is one of your variants of Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS. Now, let me show you this figure from Biochemistry by King, showing you riboflavin and the coenzymes flavin mononucleotide and flavin adenine dinucleotide. Now, always remember, riboflavin is B2, okay? Riboflavin is B2, okay? Now, always remember, riboflavin is the precursor of FMN and FAD. Now, what if you have a deficiency of riboflavin? If you have a deficiency of riboflavin, what would be the manifestations? What would be the manifestations if there is a deficiency in riboflavin? Okay, so number one, there's going to be cheilosis, okay? There's going to be angular stomatitis and cheilosis. You're going to see cracks and mouth sores, as well as sores and cracks in the lips and the mouth. There's going to be bloodshot eyes, glossitis, and there's going to be seborrhea. So a lot of these patients with riboflavin deficiency, they would present with dandruff. Okay, so please take note of this. So stomatitis, cheilosis, bloodshot eyes, and glossitis, as well as seborrhea. Now, question, which of the following water-soluble vitamins is not, take note, is not a true vitamin? Which of the following water-soluble vitamins is not a true vitamin? Okay, which of the following water-soluble vitamins is not a true vitamin? Is it riboflavin? Is it biotin? Is it pyridoxine? Is it niacin? So which of the following water-soluble vitamins is not a true vitamin? Is it riboflavin? Is it biotin? Is it pyridoxine? or is it niacin? Okay, I'm looking at your answers. Okay, someone answered pyridoxine, another answered biotin. Okay, interesting answers. What if your license depended on this question? What would you answer? Not a true vitamin. So far, isa lang yung nakakuha ng tamang sagot. Okay, only one got it correct. Dalawa. Okay, the correct answer is niacin. Niacin is not a true vitamin. Why? Because it is derived from the amino acid tryptophan. Is that clear? Niacin is not a true vitamin. Okay, niacin is not a true vitamin. It is derived from the amino acid tryptophan. And I want everyone to remember 1 milligram of niacin requires 60 milligrams of tryptophan. So 60 milligrams of tryptophan would yield or synthesize 1 milligram of niacin. So please take note of that. Now, everyone still remembers the 3 Ds of Pellagra. So we have depression, we have dermatitis, and we have diarrhea. The 4th D is death. Okay, the 4th D is death. So this dermatitis encircling the neck, that is called Cassell's necklace. Okay, that is called Cassell's necklace. Now, which vitamin is not recommended in a patient taking allopurinol and linagliptin? Which vitamin is not recommended in a patient taking allopurinol and linagliptin? Is it riboflavin, biotin, pyridoxine, niacin, or biotin? Let's see your answers. Which vitamin is not recommended? Okay, so take note, it is niacin. So if a patient is taking allopurinol, this patient most likely has gout or hyperuricemia. If a patient is taking linagliptin, then this patient is most likely diabetic. Okay, so the patient has diabetes mellitus. What enzyme again is inhibited by allopurinol? What enzyme is inhibited by allopurinol? Okay, what enzyme is inhibited by allopurinol? So we have xanthine oxidase, which is the rate limiting enzyme for purine metabolism in humans. So here, nicotinic acid, which is a drug used to lower cholesterol, causes elevation in both blood glucose as well as uric acid production. This is the reason why nicotinic acid is not recommended for diabetics as well as individuals who suffer from gout. Now, please remember, nicotinic acid is notorious for causing facial flushing. In pharmacology, nicotinic acid also causes red man syndrome. Now, question. What antibiotic also causes red man syndrome? What antibiotic is notorious for causing red man syndrome? So it is vancomycin. And always remember, vancomycin is the drug of choice for what type of Staphylococcus aureus? What type of Staph aureus is vancomycin the drug of choice? It is MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Now, what vitamin is required for the synthesis of coenzyme A and is a component of the acyl carrier protein domain of the enzyme fatty acid synthase? What vitamin is required for the synthesis of coenzyme A and is a component of the acyl carrier protein domain or the ACP domain of the fatty acid synthase enzyme? So correct answer is pantothenic acid. Yes, pantothenate is correct. Okay, pantothenic acid or vitamin B5. So I hope everyone got this. Pantothenic acid or vitamin B5. Now, here is a figure showing you pantothenic acid, and here's coenzyme A, which we commonly call CoAsh. So please take note of this. Now, the vitamin biotin or biotin is inhibited by what protein that is found in raw egg white? Again, biotin or biotin is inhibited by what protein that is found in raw egg white? So correct answer is the protein avidin. So this is the protein which is found in raw egg white. Avidin inhibits the synthesis of biotin. Therefore, there will be biotin deficiency. Now, this figure shows you the interconversion of vitamin B. So these are the different forms of vitamin B6. We have pyridoxine, pyridoxal, and pyridoxamine. So again, these are the three forms of vitamin B6. We have pyridoxine, pyridoxal, and pyridoxamine. Now, always remember the active form of vitamin B6 is pyridoxal phosphate. Memorize that for your exam. Now, this reaction is catalyzed by the ATP requiring enzyme pyridoxal phosphate kinase. So please memorize that. Question: what mineral serves as a cofactor for pyridoxal kinase? What mineral serves as a cofactor for pyridoxal kinase? So I'm giving you a heads up for your exam. Know the cofactors, know the coenzymes, most especially the vitamins and the minerals. Okay, so what mineral is required by pyridoxal kinase? So the correct answer is zinc. Okay, the correct answer is zinc. Pyridoxal kinase requires zinc. So please take note of that. Always remember zinc. Now, pyridoxal phosphate is inhibited by the anti-tuberculosis drug isoniazid, or INH. So please remember this. Now, question. When there is isoniazid toxicity, what is the major metabolite of isoniazid? And this is the metabolite responsible for the manifestations of isoniazid toxicity. What is the major metabolite? There's three, but there's one that stands out. What is the metabolite? The major metabolite in isoniazid toxicity. So this is acetyl hydrazine. So this is the major metabolite responsible for the hepatotoxicity. Now, question. What is the antidote for isoniazid toxicity? What is the antidote for isoniazid toxicity? The isoniazid toxicity, the antidote is vitamin B6. Okay, the antidote is vitamin B6. Next is tetrahydrofolic acid. Always remember, it is involved in one carbon group transfer, except for carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide is transferred by biotin. And tetrahydrofolic acid is inhibited by the following folate antagonists. We have methotrexate, which specifically inhibits dihydrofolate reductase. Then we have sulfonamides. So please remember, methotrexate specifically inhibits dihydrofolate reductase. It's a dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor. Sulfonamides are also para-aminobenzoic acid antagonists. Now, question: what enzyme is involved in the folate trap? What enzyme is involved in the folate trap? I hope this sounds familiar. The folate trap. So I want you to remember that there are only two clinically significant reactions in the body that require vitamin B12 as a cofactor. Vitamin B12 is cyanocobalamin. So these are the two enzymes: methyl malonyl CoA and methionine synthase. Methyl malonyl CoA mutase and methionine synthase. These use B12 as a cofactor. Folate trap, you have dihydrofolate reductase, as mentioned earlier, which is inhibited by methotrexate. So here is homocysteine and the folate trap. So always remember, vitamin B12 deficiency leads to the impairment of methionine synthase. Again, vitamin B12 deficiency leads to impairment of methionine synthase. This leads to the accumulation of homocysteine and the trapping of folate. Folate will be trapped, okay? Folate will be trapped in the form of methyl tetrahydrofolate. So memorize the enzyme methionine synthase. Now here is tetrahydrofolate, the very infamous tetrahydrofolate. And these are examples here of one carbon substituted folates. Now, a 45-year-old male presented with elevated cholesterol. What vitamin can be added to his therapeutic management? A 45-year-old male presented with elevated cholesterol. What vitamin can be added to his therapeutic management? Okay. The correct answer is niacin. nicotinic acid, not nicotinamide, when given at doses of 2 to 4 grams per day, will be able to lower the plasma cholesterol. Hence, it is a good drug for hypercholesterolemia. Now, if you are asked in the boards, what is the drug of choice? What is the drug of choice for hypercholesterolemia or dyslipidemia? What will you answer? What will you answer? Drug of choice for dyslipidemia or hypercholesterolemia? What will you answer? Okay, so you should answer HMG-CoA reductase, which is, of course, the famous statins. You should give statins. Now, what if you are given a case where it's the triglycerides or the dietary fat, which is elevated? So what if it's the triglycerides or the dietary fat that is elevated? What is your drug of choice? You give the fibrates. Example, fenofibrate. So please take note of that. You give the fenofibrates. Now, question, what do we call the pathological dryness of the conjunctiva and the cornea due to a progressive keratinization of the cornea? The pathological dryness of the conjunctiva and the cornea due to progressive keratinization of the cornea. What do we call this condition where there's the pathological dryness? Okay. This is xerophthalmia. Okay. This is xerophthalmia. Dryness, conjunctiva, and the cornea. And this is because of keratinization. So this is lifted from your biochemistry by King. So what vitamin is deficient here? What vitamin is deficient? It's vitamin A. Vitamin A deficiency. Now, vitamin A deficiency can also present with keratomalacia. Now, what's the earliest manifestation? What's the earliest manifestation of vitamin A deficiency? nyctalopia, also known as night blindness. Now, please scan this QR code. Fill it up. It's very quick. This is your official entry to the Raffle. Okay, please scan the QR code. So please scan the QR code. So please scan the QR code. Question. Chronic intake of carotenoids may result in A, pseudotumor cerebri, B, yellow sclera, C, yellow skin, D, cranial nerve palsy. Chronic intake of carotenoids may result in A, pseudotumor cerebri, B, yellow sclera, C, yellow skin, D, cranial nerve palsy. Correct answer is the yellow skin. Now, I would like to remind everyone that having carotenemia, or the yellowish discoloration of the skin, is benign. It is non-toxic. This is because of accumulation of carotene, beta-carotene pigments in the skin. It does not include the sclera, just like when you have jaundice. Now, when there is vitamin A toxicity, always remember, toxicity is more common with the fat-soluble vitamins compared to the water-soluble vitamins, ADEC. And the manifestations of vitamin A toxicity include pseudotumor cerebri, as well as cranial nerve palsy. Pseudotumor cerebri and cranial nerve palsy. This is when there is chronic intake of more than 100,000 units per day. So please take note of this. Now, what is characterized by improper mineralization during the development of the bones, resulting in soft bones? This is, of course, rickets. What vitamin is deficient in rickets? It's vitamin D. Now, rickets is common in adults or children? Rickets is more common in adults or children? Okay, this is more common. in children. Okay, more common in children. So please take note of that. Now, what is characterized by demineralization? What is characterized by demineralization of previously formed bone leading to increased softness and susceptibility to fractures? So this is now what we call osteomalacia. This is vitamin D deficiency, more commonly encountered in adults. Question: a purely breastfed infant of a pure vegetarian mom may develop blank. Is it serothalmia, osteomalacia, diarrhea, or anemia? A purely breastfed infant of a pure vegetarian mother may develop serothalmia, osteomalacia, diarrhea, or anemia. Correct answer is anemia. So always remember this biochem pearl, that strict vegan diets do not contain eggs, it does not contain meat, it does not contain milk products. Thus, there is a deficiency in vitamin B12. Now, question: one of the following is not essential for low birth weight infants. Is it arginine, taurine, cysteine, or leucine? One of the following is not essential for low birth weight infants: arginine, taurine, cysteine, or leucine. Which of these amino acids is not essential for low birth weight infants? Correct answer is leucine. Now, don't forget leucine. This is purely ketogenic, along with lysine, the two purely ketogenic amino acids. So here, I want everyone to remember this. Amino acids and low birth weight infants. Low birth weight infants associated with arginine, cysteine, taurine. Premature infants, tyrosine, cysteine, and histidine. Now next, the BMI, or the body mass index, provides a measure of relative weight adjusted for height. This is expressed in kilograms per meter squared. So the body mass divided by the square of the body height. Now, please remember, according to the WHO, more than 30 is obese. Okay, a BMI of more than 30 kilograms per meter squared is considered obese. Now, for the energy content of food, this is expressed either in calories or kilocalories. So this is the heat that is released by the total combustion of food. So I want everyone to memorize this. Fat is 9 kilocalories. Carbohydrates and protein is 4. So again, fat is 9 kilocalories. Carbohydrates and protein is 4. So please take note of this. Now, according to the Philippine Nutrition Study Guide for adults, this is the famous food pyramid. Okay, so on top of the food pyramid, at least 30 minutes of daily exercise is recommended. So please take note, you should have more of what is at the base, which is the water, and less of fats, oils, sugars, and sweets. Okay. Now, the total energy expenditure, or the TEE, this is the number of kilocalories, which is basically expended within a 24-hour period. This is dependent on the following 3 factors. Number 1, we have the resting metabolic rate. Number 2, we have the physical activity. Then we have the thermic effect of food. So these will affect the total energy expenditure. So here, 24-hour resting metabolic rate is much higher in men. It's about 1,800 kilocalories. And the REE is about 60 to 75% of the total energy expenditure in sedentary individuals. Now, can you give me 2 metabolic conditions where the basal metabolic rate is increased? 2 metabolic conditions where the basal metabolic rate would be increased. One is pregnancy. Another is hyperthyroidism. Okay, pregnancy, then hyperthyroidism. Now, get a screenshot of this. Determination of the ideal body weight. We have the famous Tannhauser method. So please take note. Then we have the Fernando method. So again, Tannhauser. Then we have the Fernando method. So make sure you get a screenshot of this. You will most likely not be asked to compute. Now, for the diet recommendation, okay, I want you to memorize this. 60% carbohydrates, 30% fats, 15% protein. This is for an average Filipino male laborer who engages in moderate physical activity. So again, 60% carbo, 30% fats, about 15% protein. Now go over your minerals. So don't forget, less than 100 in a day. These are the trace elements. Which of these trace elements is a cofactor for the enzyme carbonic anhydrase? Which of these trace elements is a cofactor for the enzyme carbonic anhydrase? Shout out to Mr. Roshan. Welcome. Greetings from the Philippines. So what is the cofactor? Okay, good. So it is zinc. Okay, it is zinc. Now, what about for collagen synthesis? I hope everyone remembers collagen synthesis requires ascorbic acid or vitamin C for hydroxylation of lysine and proline. Which of these minerals is required for collagen synthesis? Okay, which of these minerals is required as a cofactor for collagen synthesis? Okay, minerals. Okay, it is copper. Okay, copper is required. Now, copper metabolism, and there's a deficiency. Always think of Wilson's disease. And what other disease presents with kinky hair? So you have Menkes or Menkes disease. Now, which of these trace elements is required for glutathione reductase activity along with vitamin E? So glutathione reductase requires vitamin E. It also needs this mineral. What is that mineral? Okay, what is that mineral that glutathione reductase needs along with vitamin E? Okay, it is selenium. Always remember, selenium is synergistic with vitamin E or alpha tocopherol. Now, I hope everyone remembers the nucleic acids. So we have deoxyribonucleic acid, that's DNA. We have ribonucleic acids, that's RNA. Question, from what biochemical pathway do we get the ribose phosphate, which is required for nucleic acid synthesis? From what biochemical pathway do we get the ribose phosphate, which is required for nucleic acid synthesis? This is from the pentose phosphate pathway, or what we call also the hexose monophosphate shunt. Now, these are your nitrogenous bases. They are either the purines or they are the pyrimidines. So under the purines, we have adenine, we have guanine. Under the pyrimidines, we have cytosine, thymine, and uracil. Now, always remember, uracil is only found in RNA. So this is our mnemonics: pure as gold and cut the pie. Okay, so pure as gold, the purines is A, G, adenine and guanine. The pyrimidines is cut the pie. C for cytosine, U for uracil, T for thymine. Cut the pie. Now, what do we call this rule where there is a 1:1 ratio between the purines and the pyrimidines? So specifically, A is going to be equal to T. That's the proper base pairing. And G will be paired with C. What do we call this rule? This is known as Chargaff's rule. Okay, this is known as Chargaff's rule. Now, this is showing you the ribose 5. This comes from the pentose phosphate pathway. Then it becomes 5-phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate, and it eventually goes into the uric acid biosynthesis. You have the xanthine oxidase here, and you have the HGPRT, the two important enzymes in purine metabolism. Now, always remember, allopurinol is a hypoxanthine analog that inhibits xanthine oxidase. And febuxostat is another drug that inhibits xanthine oxidase. Now, there is a disease, an X-linked disease, which results from the absence of the enzyme HGPRTase. And HGPRTase deficiency is associated with Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. So in Lesch-Nyhan syndrome, you have to remember there's going to be mental retardation, there's going to be self-mutilation, a mental retardation, and self-mutilation or self-injurious behavior. Now, another disease associated with the absence of HGPRTase is orotic aciduria. So this is one of the conditions associated with disorders of purine metabolism. So orotic aciduria. Now, don't forget the central dogma, wherein the flow of genetic material is going to be replication, transcription, translation. So that means DNA is replicated, then DNA is transcribed to RNA, RNA is now translated to protein, and it is the protein / amino acids which will take part in the genetic code. Now, question. The camptothecins are an alkaloid class of anti-cancer drugs used in the treatment of colon and breast cancers. These compounds function by inhibiting the activity of which of the following enzymes? Is it DNA helicase, DNA ligase, DNA polymerase, histone deacetylase, or topoisomerase 1? So the camptothecins, anti-cancer drugs for colon and breast CA, what enzyme activity does it inhibit? Which of these enzymes? Let's see your answers. Okay, very good. The camptothecins inhibit the action of topoisomerase 1. It is topoisomerase 1 that induces single-strand breaks in DNA during the process of replication. Now, question. What do we call short stretches of newly synthesized DNA representing the lagging strand? So always remember the lagging strand is 3'. The leading strand is 5'. going to 3. So what are these short stretches of newly synthesized DNA? These are what we call the Okazaki fragments. And what is the enzyme that joins the Okazaki fragments? It is DNA ligase. Okay, DNA ligase. It joins the Okazaki fragments. Now take a photo of this. This is lifted from Biochemistry by King. So helicase, let us unwind. This is the unwinding of DNA. DNA primase initiates the synthesis of the RNA primers, and DNA ligase seals the nicks as well as it joins the Okazaki fragments. Now, what do we call the group of proteins that have functional similarity and assist in protein folding? What do we call a group of proteins that have functional similarity and assist in protein folding? So this is what we call the chaperones. So proteins can undergo folding, they can undergo degradation, they can undergo aggregation. So misfolding, degradation, and aggregation can lead to pathological processes. Now, question. What is this biochemistry concept, which refers to ribonuclease dividing into smaller RNA components? And take note of this statement. The sequence of amino acids in itself determines the way the chain folds itself, and that no additional genetic information is required in this process. This is also known as the thermodynamic hypothesis of protein folding. What do we call this dogma? Okay, what do we call this dogma? Okay, any takers? What do we call this dogma? This is what we call Anfinsen's dogma. This is named after Christian Anfinsen. Now, here's the ribonuclease A. This actually gave Anfinsen a Nobel Prize. So here, these are the characteristics of a protein structure: uniqueness, stability, and kinetic accessibility. These are all explained in Anfinsen's dogma: uniqueness, stability, and kinetic accessibility. So what are the exceptions to Anfinsen's dogma? These are conditions where there is protein misfolding. And what conditions of protein misfolding are mentioned in Harper's. We have Alzheimer's disease, we have Huntington's disease, and we have Creutzfeldt-Jakob, or your bovine, or your spongiform encephalopathy. So please take note of that. Then, of course, winding down, don't forget the Watson and Crick model, okay, which is double-stranded, helical, anti-parallel, and it is right-handed. So I want everyone to remember this. This refers to the normal hydrogen bonding that occurs in a duplex of DNA where A bonds to T and G bonds to C. This is the Watson and Crick base pair with a helix pitch of 34 angstrom. It's anti-parallel. It's double-stranded. And this is, of course, the most referred to form of DNA. So don't forget the messenger RNA. Okay, this serves as a template. It has a 5' methylguanosine cap and a 3' tail. So it is the messenger RNA that serves as the carrier of genetic information to the site of protein synthesis. Now answer this. Which of the following drugs binds to RNA polymerase and inhibits transcription? Which of the following drugs binds to RNA polymerase and inhibits transcription? Is it actinomycin, nalidixic acid, novobiosine, RNA polymerase? So what's your answer? So the correct answer is RNA polymerase. Nalidixic acid, which is the parent compound or prototype of your quinolones, is DNA polymerase, particularly topoisomerase. So take note, RNA polymerase. Okay. So the drug would be actinomycin. Okay. Actinomycin binds to DNA, so it cannot be the RNA polymerase. RNA polymerase is either rifampicin or streptoligidine. So these are the type 1 antibiotics. These are the type 2 antibiotics. Rifampicin is transcription, RNA polymerase binding. Actinomycin inhibits transcription, and that's binding to the DNA template. And the third group of antibiotics would be nalidixic acid and novobiosine, which inhibit topoisomerase. That's DNA topoisomerase. Now, what antibiotics inhibit translation? Okay, these are the antibiotics that inhibits translation. Streptomycin, tetracycline, erythromycin, puromycin, and chloramphenicol. And lastly, let's mention the stop codons. Okay, what are the stop codons? We have UAG, UAA, and we have the UGA. So these are, you are annoying, you go away, you are gone. So if you have the stop codons, don't forget you have a premature termination, which is associated with a nonsense mutation. And of course, we also have the jumping genes or the transposons, which causes insertional mutagenesis. So these are small pieces of DNA that inserts itself into another place in the genome. So I believe we've discussed this in our classes. Now, last, the initiation codon is found in what sequence? The initiation codon is found in what sequence? What do we call the sequence where we find the initiation codon? And I hope everyone remembers the initiation codon is AUG, and this codes for the amino acid methionine. So where do we find it? What's the name of the sequence? This is known as the Kozak sequence. So the initiation codon is found in the Kozak sequence of eukaryotes. Now, what anchors the prokaryotic mRNA to the 16S rRNA of the ribosome during translation? Okay, these are all lifted verbatim from your textbook. This is known as the Shine-Dalgarno sequence. And lastly, what is the smallest gene for DNA expression? What is the smallest gene for DNA expression? The smallest gene for DNA expression. Okay, so what is the smallest gene for DNA expression? So the correct answer is the cistron. Okay, the smallest gene for DNA expression is the cistron. So please take note of that. Okay, so that basically wraps up our short session. Okay, I'd like to see your faces. I'm going to give some instructions. Okay, so make sure so this is instruction number 1. So we can have the raffle draw. Please like this session. Put up the thumbs up down there. Click the like button. Next, subscribe. It's a free subscription to our YouTube channel. We're going to have more sessions for the other PLE subjects. Okay, so like, subscribe, then you fill up the form. Either scan the QR code, okay, scan the QR code, or click the link which I just placed in the chat box. Okay, and what is up for grabs again? Okay, so what is up for grabs are the following. So first, we're going to give away 15 scholarships, which can be used for the upcoming October 2020 PLE, or it can be applied to a later date, or it can be applied for the ECDB online. This is for the PGIs and clerks who are in attendance right now. And for the PLE takers, this is what you are entitled to. Overnight stay at Costa Bella Tropical Beach Hotel in Mactan, Cebu, and an overnight stay at Conrad, Manila, overnight stay for 2. All courtesy, okay, all courtesy of Cracking the Boards. Okay, so I hope you guys were able to get something from this session. Okay, this session is recorded and you can just view it in the channel anytime. So I will be posting the list of the winners right before midnight. So we're gonna have a dinner right now with Medhouse Dorm. So Medhouse people, I'm gonna meet you. So everyone, glory to God in the highest, and God bless everyone. Hope to see you in more sessions prior to your exam. God bless and thank you. Salamat.